Welcome back to Politics Nation. Just 2 months into Trump's second term, the administration's unprecedented policy moves on trade, immigration, and civil rights put the president on a political collision course with the state he was born in and the city he once called home. Joining me now to talk about it in studio is New York's Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul. Governor, first, thank you for being with us, and thank you for your moving message at the funeral of NAACP Hazel Dukes. We were all so moved by what you had to say.
Thank you. Your words were profound as well, Reverend Al.
Thank you. Governor, you met with President Trump at the White House on Friday. What can you share with us about that meeting in terms of the tone and the substance of your conversation?
Well, I reached out to the president again because there is so much I need to deliver for New York and New York City in particular. I need to get Penn Station done and make sure we have money for the 2nd Avenue subway, which is so important. I want to make sure that we have an understanding on immigration that says we'll help you when you have serious violent criminals you need to get off the streets. I've always said that. We've done that under the Biden administration, but we're not going to be there to allow you to just take people off the streets and split up families. And so we had a conversation also about tariffs. I want to talk about the impact of tariffs on New York. It is devastating, absolutely devastating for our farmers upstate New York, for our factory workers who aren't sure if they're going to be able to do phase 2 of a major project. I was in Buffalo, my hometown, right on the border with Canada. So I needed to be able to continue the conversation with him on some of our energy policies. I talked about how important offshore wind was, talked about opportunities for maybe small modular reactors so we could power the innovation economy in New York. I need to keep that dialogue going, but they're also understand this about me. My willingness to talk about areas where we could have a common interest does not take away from my responsibility as a leader of the state to fight back and fight back hard when the line is crossed and you've hurt New Yorkers or attacked our values.
Now, President Trump wants to get rid of congestion pricing program you put in place. However, he also wants a natural gas pipeline built in New York State. And you mentioned you just mentioned it may he may be interested in a Penn Station redesign. Did you get the sense in your meeting with the president that he's open to making deals on these issues?
You know, I don't want to get into private conversations, but I spent an enormous amount of my time in there talking about how congestion pricing is working. It really is working. I think a lot of people who are naysayers, who say this is going to crush the city, nobody's going to come in, they were wrong. And I wanted him to just see the data that I had more recent numbers. Broadway's up. You know, retail sales are up $900 million. We have more people on the streets walking around, going into stores, and 10% increase on riders on the subway. So all the fears that were out there are absolutely unfounded, and people are getting to the city so much faster. So I needed to help walk him through what I thought were the real reasons why we need to keep this and not have it shut down, which is what he said the administration would do beginning this Friday. But we, as I've said, and I was very aggressive in this, we are not turning off the cameras. This is our program. We put this in place. We have the proper approvals, and we feel if necessary, we'll be successful in court. But I was hoping it wouldn't have to get that far, but time will tell.
All right, New York was one of 3 northern states hit with surcharges on Canadian electricity this month after Trump imposed tariffs. What's your message to the president on trade wars, and what can you do to protect the state economically?
Our states, our residents, the people you promised to lower the cost of everything on day one, they're the collateral damage in this war. And there may be some long-term gain that the president sees, but why are we making people suffer right now? They've been through enough. Inflation, the pandemic. Our people are hurting. They just want people to give them money back in their pockets. So that's at odds with what I'm trying to do in New York, which is find a way to get up to $5,000 in families' pockets with child tax credits and the largest middle-class tax rate cut in 70 years, and to put money from the inflation rebate. We collected so much money in sales tax because of inflation. I want to put it back in people's pockets. So contrary to what is happening in Washington, where they don't seem to care about the people they promised lower prices because tariffs will drive up prices, we are doing the exact opposite here in New York.
Now, two of your fellow New Yorkers, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, disagreed last week on whether to go along with Trump and the Republican spending bill. You talked about leading the resistance against Trump, but you are also trying to work with him. What are your thoughts about the debate that's going on within the Democratic Party about how to respond to the president?
You know, we need to get back on the same page, because anytime we're not like this, it benefits the Republicans. We need to realize that. And so, yes, families can disagree on an approach. I get that. But let us not forget who brought us here, who brought us to this place. We should not have had a continuing resolution that could hurt people. The Republicans in the House who are voting for programs that could be devastating. We have to stop that and be smart about knowing who we're attacking and who we have to go up against, and it's not each other.
Now, let's get to some local issues. You and I have worked together on combating crime in the streets and on the subways, and we've joined with Attorney General Letitia James and Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg on the issue of discovery law reforms to make sure victims of crime get their day in court. I'm concerned about domestic violence and some of the records that they brought out to me about that, DA Bragg. Where are we with that?
I have introduced legislation in my budget, and we're negotiating it right now. I'll be back in Albany tomorrow, and I'll be negotiating on this. What I want to do is talk about the reforms. Back in 2019, important reforms were put in place because the system was skewed against defendants. It really was. Prosecutors were withholding too much information. The law had to change, and I support that. But it has now gone the other way. The pendulum has swung so far that defense lawyers are scamming the system, withholding information to the last minute, or that they're saying that if even a tiny bit of information, that you already have a duplicate bit of information that confirms it, that's a reason to throw out a case altogether. And you're absolutely right. It is the victims of domestic violence and rape. Think about the women who had to go through the horrible, horrible process of exposing their lives, being willing to prosecute someone and stand up against someone who harmed them. And then to have a judge and prosecutors say we can't bring it forward because the information was too late. I mean, I'm talking about minor technicalities. If there's something significant, yes, of course you should not have the case dismissed. But I'm talking about just fixing a system, because before the reforms were put in place, 42% of cases brought in New York City were dismissed. Now it's 62%. That's a lot of people based on technicalities. And I want the legislature to understand, and your voice is so important. And I appreciate you standing up for these victims.
I'm concerned about when I saw the data on domestic abuse. Finally, Governor, a lot has happened since we last spoke in the race. A lot has happened in the race for New York City mayor. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo has announced he's running. What are your thoughts about the kind of leaders, New Yorkers should be looking toward at this moment?
They should be looking for somebody who'll work with the governor. Now, that has not always been the practice, as you've seen historically. I worked with Bill de Blasio in the end of his term. I work with Eric Adams. We don't need the conflict that has historically defined the relationship, because you know who gets hurt when the governor and the mayor are fighting? The people of New York. I represent 8.3 million New York City residents as well. And that's why I focused on public safety, paying for overtime on the overnight subway trains so people feel safer, $1 billion to build more housing. I'm going to keep doing this, but I need someone who's not looking to be at war with the governor, who will actually be a partner. So that's all I'm looking for. And I'll work with anybody as long as they want to focus on the agenda that I've put forth that is for New York City residents.
Does that mean late in the primary you may make an endorsement?
I am not endorsing in this. I do not vote in this great city, although I live here 3-4 days a week, and I will not be making an endorsement.
But you want someone that will work with the governor? Someone
who's smart enough to know to work with me, because otherwise it won't be fun.
And we'll have to figure out who we think you might best work with.
Get me a real partner.
Thank you for being with us, Governor Kathy Hochul of New York.